Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to my channel Movie Files. Elliot back again with a brand new movie review, and today we are discussing a new superhero action film by the name of Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins, which I actually got a chance to check out on the big IMAX screen. I'm really excited to share my thoughts with you all and let you know if it's worth checking out on this spoiler-free review. Before we break it all down, do me a favor and make sure you're checking me out on all my other social media accounts. If you all are new to the channel, well, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. That way you can get the alert for when I drop new content. If you all enjoy my review of Snake Eyes, well, make sure to like the video, share the video. It helps out the channel a lot, but I also appreciate the support. And in the comments, all my Snake Eye, G.I. Joe fans, superhero fans, let's discuss this film. Let me know if you grew up with this IP, if you were excited for this film, and once you've seen it, what did you think about it? What did you think of my man Henry Golding? Iko Uwais, Samara Weaving, Andrew Koji, the story, the origins. Do you want to see more from this franchise? What were some of your criticisms? Let's discuss it all in the comments below. So to address that last point I made as far as G.I. Joe, growing up with G.I. Joe. So I've seen some episodes when I was growing up here and there. My cousins were really big fans of those. I was more of a Power Rangers guy myself, but nonetheless, I grew up with the toys, but I never really had that fandom of really growing up and appreciating G.I. Joe. And I did see the films that came out, in the early, mid-2000s, G.I. Joe, Rise of Cobra with Channing Tatum. We had Retaliation with The Rock. Not being a big fan, I thought they were silly, fun action films and really didn't take much of it. So to say I'm a G.I. Joe fan I wouldn't say I'm a biggest fan. So I was kind of going into this a little bit just I wanted to see a really good action film with a person who I think will be a rising mega superstar in Henry Golding. What did I think about it? Well, let's jump right into the positive. Starting off with this cast, man. I was very impressed by this combination, this ensemble cast, because normally action hero, superhero movies, there's always one or two bad links within the cast. I didn't really care for this actress. This actor was pointless. This character didn't do much for me. But I gotta say, for the most part, our main ensemble did a pretty good job. And I want to start with the man, the lead himself, Snake Eyes, who is played by the incredible Henry Golding. And listen, 007 is there's an open spot for James Bond, and I think Henry Golding just proved to me that he can definitely lead an action film. He was incredible. This story isn't all that great, and we'll talk about that later on, but he has this. And I've seen Henry Golding in Crazy Rich Asians. I didn't really like that Christmas movie he did with Emilia Clarke, but he has that it factor, man. When you talk about charm, charisma, screen presence, there's a type of look and kind of way he carries himself. I was pleasantly surprised by how much he was able to, number one, handle the action set pieces in this film. Now, of course, he has a stunt devil, but for the most part, he could have fooled me. I thought he did most of his stunts, and as we learn about his story, his origins, where he comes from, I really felt all the emotions that he was giving to us in this film. I felt his rage, I felt his vengeance, I felt his past and what led him to become the person we see in this film. And I also believe that he became this ninja ultimate elite warrior when we see how he becomes a part of this clan. So if you have any fears about Henry Golding, if he is taking up that vacancy in James Bond or any other vehicle, this one in particular, because I'm pretty sure they're going to make a franchise out of this, I am all for it, man. Henry Golding is, I already knew he was a star, but this proved to me he's an action star, and I was very impressed by him. But also, there's another gentleman in this cast by the name of Andrew Koji, who I've had this show on my watch list for the longest time. It goes by the name of Warrior. I believe it's on HBO. I believe there's 2, maybe 3 seasons. I'm a big martial arts fan. I've heard that this is one of the best martial arts shows on television. After watching this movie, I will be watching Warrior by the end of the night, because Andrew as Tommy, aka Shadowstorm, man, he was hitting on the chemistry between him and Henry Golding. Number one, is something to talk about. They were really great together, but his hand-to-hand combat, his story, you understand where his motives come from. You understand why he takes so much pride of his clan and why he wants to protect his clan. I am a Andrew Koji fan, and again, I will be watching Warrior later tonight because I am just so impressed by, again, his hand-to-hand combat is one thing, but his acting is another thing. So kudos to Henry Golding, kudos to Andrew Koji, and there's also 2 actors that I'm a big fan of that I had no idea were in this movie. I didn't really pay too much attention to the marketing. Plus, I didn't really think the marketing was all that great for the film. So I was like, you know what? I don't want it to take away from me being somewhat excited for this film. I didn't know Samara Weaving was in this movie, and I'm a big Samara Weaving fan. Now, she's not in it that much, and we'll talk about some of my criticisms of her, how she was using this film. I'm a Samara Weaving fan, and again, her character Scarlet, for all my G.I. Joe fans, and I remember seeing her in G.I. Joe Rise of the Cobra and Retaliation. But I thought that she did the best that she could in her role, and I'm a big Samara Weaving fan. But the icing on the cake for me, I literally almost jumped in my seat when I saw this man in this film. Again, he's probably in the trailer. I have to revisit the trailer to confirm it, but there's an actor who is in two of my favorite martial arts films of all time, and that is The Raid 1 and 2, and I think you know who I'm talking about. Iko Uwais. I did not know he was in this film. He wasn't in it enough, if you ask me, but I know he's a supporting character. He is one of the masters, the king master in this clan, and teaches people how to do, hand-to-hand combat. And he's not in it that much. I understand he's a supporting character, but the moments we see with Iko Uwais, whether it's him training Henry Golding Snake Eyes or a particular moment in the film where he has to defend his people, man, that put a big smile on my face to see Iko Uwais. And I hope Hollywood, if you're not using this man properly anytime soon, good gosh, I mean, Iko Uwais was fantastic. But again, I thought that the entire cast, the grandmother whose name is slipping me right now, I thought she was great. There's a pretty solid villain in this film. And just speaking of just solid, this was a pretty solid action flick, ladies and gentlemen. Now, again, we'll talk about the story a little bit later. We've seen it 1,000 times, but the action, which was very surprising. Now, there are some criticisms with the choreography, but for the most part, I was thoroughly entertained by the action set pieces, which there's a particular set piece that you see in the trailer, which I remember seeing a couple months ago, involving a highway and bicycles, and that scene was awesome, as well as the third act was a pretty entertaining third act involving a pit and some other creatures, I'll just say that. So I gotta say, before I jump to my criticisms, I thought the setup of the film was very intriguing. I was very surprised by this kind of twist in following Snake Eyes and just seeing what I thought of Snake Eyes, and seeing this film kind of take that mythology and twist it on its head. And there's a spy ninja aspect to the film that I enjoyed, and I thought that the third act was a pretty satisfying conclusion. Now, let's jump into my criticisms. I mentioned the choreography and the fights, and this has been said online, so this isn't anything new, but I have to say, and I'm not like a martial arts expert by any means, but there were some moments where the camera movement and the hand-to-hand combat, it was moving at a fast pace, and I really couldn't see who was hitting who, what sword was using what sword. So it was kind of, some of the choreography was a little clunky, not from the actors, but just the way it was handled, which also, speaking of clunky, the way this film uses swords was almost very laughable, because it's PG-13. I'm very aware of that. They want kids to see this. They want kids to buy the toys. But man, that PG-13 really held back the brutality of the swords and the brutality of these fights. There were just moments where I'm just like, oh, I just wish there was some blood here and some eyeballs poking out here and some heads being cut off there. So there were some restraints. Again, I understand it. They want the kids and the family to see this, but man, this is a rated R version of this film that would have been awesome. So another thing I want to bring up, I talked a little bit about the story. Now, this isn't breaking new ground. This is a traditional story of revenge, loyalty, betrayal, and people coming together to fight for the greater good and save the world, right? It's a superhero film. So the originality of the film wasn't all that great. It really is, this film to me is really kind of driven by the lead performances and driven by the action pieces that really kind of kept me engaged. But as far as the story goes, I wasn't all that impressed. And again, I wasn't expecting Shakespeare, expecting this type of A1 type of script, but I wish it was a little bit more innovative. And last thing I want to say on the script, this is called Snake Eyes, G.I. Joe Origins. I felt like this film would have been a really great film if it didn't have this overlurking story plot of G.I. Joe, ladies and gentlemen. I know who Snake Eyes is. I know how integral he is to the lore and the mythology, but to me, the film felt kind of bogged down when you have a character like Samara Weaving who plays Scarlet, when you have the words being dropped of Cobra, and you have this type of third act that really kind of injects its Cobra-isms in the film. And I'm just like, oh, I get it. The fans of G.I. Joe probably can appreciate that. Again, I told you up top, I'm not the biggest G.I. Joe fan, so I felt like it almost just kind of bogged down the narrative between Snake Eyes and Shadowstorm and the clan and the protection of a particular MacGuffin in the film. I'm just like, oh, why did G.I. Joe have to kind of muck up the story? So it didn't destroy the story, but I felt like the film and the creators were like, we gotta throw in the G.I. Joe. We gotta remind them that there's a G.I. Joe presence, there's Cobra present. And I felt like it kind of bogged down this really interesting story that the film was going at. So besides those things there, I was pretty entertained, pretty surprised, and pretty happy with this film. So before I give you all my overall thoughts and my score, if you haven't already, make sure to like the video, share the video, leave your thoughts in the comments, and of course subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So overall, man, Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins isn't breaking new ground by any means, but I have to say it once, I have to say it twice, and even 3 times. Henry Golden is a star, and he really sold me as an action star in this film. His co-lead and Andrew Koji did a phenomenal job. Again, I will be watching Warrior after this, and the rest of the cast really came together. Yes, the action is kind of clunky at times, but when it's at its peak, I was very impressed by that. And listen, I mentioned that G.I. Joe kind of overshadows a story I was hoping the film to go, but I am excited to see this transition into a G.I. Joe franchise. I would like to see Henry Golding, Andrew, and the rest of the crew come back and kind of, see the Cobras versus G.I. Joe. I really like the foundation of how this film kind of sets up the future. It doesn't do the Star Wars thing, or more recently the Black Widow, where I don't feel like I learned who Henry Golding character was. I do feel like I know who Snake Eyes is. So with all that being said, I'm going to give Snake Eyes a solid 3 out of 5, guys. I think this is a really solid action film. Again, the story isn't all that special, but I'm really excited to see what they do with this franchise, because I was pleasantly surprised by what I got in this film. And again, Henry Golden, 007, I think you're going to get a call any day now, my friend. But nonetheless, that's my thoughts on Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins. Again, once you've seen the film, I want to know what you all thought about it. Your pros, your cons, your thoughts for what you would like to see in the future. And if you would like to see a future, let's discuss it all in the comments again. So if you stuck around to the end of the video, I appreciate every single one of you. Again, if you haven't already, make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell. That way you don't miss any of my other content. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Hope you're staying safe. We'll see you on the next video.